أعزائي الحضور، نعاود استكمال برنامجنا لهذا اليوم ونقدم لكم الجلسة الخامسة، وهي بعنوان الاستفادة من البنية التحتية للأبحاث الطبية.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming and making this opportunity to happen. I have been asked just now to actually not just now to moderate the session. I do have a presentation. I don't know if I should go up here or it will be here. Okay. Now, Dr. Abdel Ali, is that right? He asked me to set a tone for this session. But in the same time, he told me 30 minutes. That's not setting up at all. That's setting up a song itself. So I will try to probably make it in 15 minutes. So you know. Okay, so. It's not showing. Can you switch the projector to the main screen, please? Okay. So I'll try to think in a more comprehensive way. What is leveraging national research infrastructure mean? What's this important? How we do it? But most of my talk, I have example of those national infrastructure research platforms that probably can be considered an infrastructure. So what is a national research structure? It probably means facilities, resources, and services used commonly and cooperatively to conduct high-quality research in a manner that will enhance the research base itself and enhance innovation. But there is a larger definition by the Directorate General for Research European Commission, which is facilities, resources, related services used by the scientific community to conduct top-level research in their respective fields. They cover major scientific equipment and instrumentation, knowledge-based resources, also like collection and archive structures, also to enable information and communication between end user of the infrastructure, and it can be single-sided or multiple sites. But why we are doing the infrastructure? Being in Saudi Arabia and the scientific resources is scarce compared to well-developed countries like USA, UK, where hundreds of billions of dollars goes to research. So here the resources are actually limited, and maybe one of the best way to leverage the research opportunities here, even if they are limited, is by augmentation research and in a form of an infrastructure, a national infrastructure. They can improve research quality, definitely they will reduce the cost, they will increase efficiency, and they will accelerate research. So these are some of the benefits of having a national research infrastructure. And in general, in the aims in biomedical research, all of that, why? Because we wanted to improve healthcare and well-being in prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and in care delivery in prevention. Scientists work for developing vaccine, genetic tests, diagnosis. Research can lead to new biomarkers, new genetic tests, new imaging modalities. Research towards therapeutics can lead to drugs, medical devices, etc. So how this infrastructure access model can happen? It can be simply open access, for example, by government, allowing research to utilize the platforms. It can be fee for a service, and I believe there might be around in Riyadh at least fee for service models, or in a collaborative model, saying that two scientists from an A institution will go to an infrastructure that exists in the institution, can be done in collaborative manner. Also, this infrastructure can happen in a research center building in the original one, and then designated to be an infrastructure model, or simply it can be set up from scratch where different institutions team up to make an infrastructure model. So you have to find it, properly build it, and then you have to designate it, and then you have to disseminate the fact that these are usable in research infrastructure. So maybe it's clearer if I give you an example of what is the national research structure like. You can have a national facility for genome sequencing and analysis. We know very much this is expensive, so you can imagine not every single institution can have the sequencing, instrumentation, and bioinformatics analysis goes behind it. It's very expensive, but not because of the cost. Running the protocols of optimization will require technical expertise. So it's really going to be difficult if you have, for example, a city like Jeddah or a city like Medina or Riyadh. To have three or four facilities would be much better if all of them come together. And so on. So maybe this is one of the discussions that be raised by this, how we can make it happen. You can have a national visitor lines. Remember that scientists work most of the time for specific disease purpose. So each disease have a similar model of it, requiring a cell line to work with. And remember that getting cell lines from abroad can be a difficult task. So repository cell lines can also help this country of research to move on. Now, some of the institutes, they may have very good repository lines already, so we can actually build and help them and probably fund them by other institutes to do so. Research animal husbandry also the same thing. You can have research animal husbandry in the university everywhere. So maybe one large one that satisfies at least the routine animal supply for research. Mass spectrometry is very expensive, difficult to run. Can be also a national infrastructure, advanced imaging center, a drug screening center. For example, I know that Keymark is an excellent drug screening center. This can be utilized by other institutes. Now, would like to talk about unique cellular models. I'm a scientist, and I would like to show this can be a national infrastructure. And cellular models are research infrastructure. So in the labs, in order to come up with a treatment, come up with a novel therapy, we still have disease, we still have problems. So medicine is lousy in a way because we still have complications, drug side effects. We're not curing many of the diseases. Still we have a burden of diabetes, obesity, and there's cardiovascular and other renal and other diseases. So in order for you to study to come up with a new disease mechanism, you have to understand the role of, for example, a single protein or a single gene activity and the disease. And the only way to know if this is a disease process by knowing what is the healthy process. So many of the models in the lab where people call it basic science, and some even I have met during my career people not relevant. But how are you going to know this is a disease if you don't know what is the healthy process? So you need to study the innate immunity, you need to study one-pair, you need to study signaling to understand what are the operations that cause the disease. And you do have cellular models of disease at the same time as you do have a cellular models of disease. For example, atherosclerosis, you just simply you can take endothelial cells and use LDL to study the mechanical interaction that happen, trying to normalize some of these operations. And almost in every single disease there is a dish in the lab. Okay, for this disease. Or you can study the process of it, for example, invasion, angiogenesis, chemotaxis, in order for you to come up with a way to normalize some of the aberrations and perturbations that happen in the cancer cells. Believe it or not, there is more than 100 million different interactions in the cancer cells compared to the normal cells. So even if you put the whole world scientists to tackle all changes in interactions in the single cell will not be able. So there's a lot of opportunities. This is why we still have cancer. We still have we're not able to cure it, for example. So with all of that, in every single process, whether it's health, studying the health process, or the disease process, or the mechanism, or how to target them, discovery, you need the research infrastructure, each one of these systems. For example, using the cellular models, you need a repertoire cell lines as a collection. You need a repertoire of reagents. You need instrumentation, and you need readout analysis, and so on. This can be really helpful if you have a good infrastructure that will relieve you from doing some things, relieve you from the burden of acquiring it, knowing it, and running it. So the focus on the biology and how you reverse the disease biology. So because I'm from King Hospital, I will be familiar with some of the things and ideas of what can be a national research infrastructure, and it can be physical, it can be a core facility, it can be a unique technology platform. Also the infrastructure for graduate students to make their PhDs can be also a good idea. And expertise can be itself as a national infrastructure. I may go to an institute A or B or C that are focused or has specific expertise that can go with. It's more of actually a national infrastructure. For example, you can have genomic core facility, which you have the DNA extraction, biobanking, sequencing, genotyping. For example, we set up gene panels to detect mutations in different states, and the protocols have been optimized over the years, and this has been running. So this can be used as a national infrastructure, and can be even funded by us, or the other way around. I'm just giving examples because I'm familiar with my institute. This is, for example, a pharmaco scan solution for macrogenomics from a company. We have tissue microarrays that can be turned to a national infrastructure. We produce radiopharmaceuticals. Basically, was an infrastructure that transformed to a national supplier. So we become a national infrastructure for producing radiopharmaceuticals, for developing new radiotracer for diagnostic purposes and therapeutics. Sometimes you may have an expertise and technology. Remember, acquiring the technology is not enough. And even acquiring how to operate the technology is not enough. Also, the expertise in the biology of the materials you're running on the technology is as important as the technology itself. So for example, here there is for preclinical imaging modality, we have micro PT to bridge the gap between basic research, which is just done for small animals, basically. Because you cannot use the PET scan and CT that are used for humans. So we have this micro PET and CT to characterize the metastasis, for example, tumors here, and so on. The biomedical services, it can be also potential national research infrastructure. For example, the biomedical services, they have advanced radiotherapy techniques, they treat dose rate, low rate, brachytherapy techniques for cancer patients. So we can utilize some of those services. The environmental toxicology facility. This is an example. Department of Infection and Immunity in our institute have asked the chairman to provide me if anything can be used for a national infrastructure. Yes, possibly DNA fingerprinting, virus determination, microbial gene mutations. We even have a project spun out from the research center called Albio, and they produce PCR kits, enzymes, and all those routine research agents that is here national high quality that can be obtained at any time. You know that one of the problems for the science is getting their materials through our customs and so on. But this is now here. This is my last one. Sometimes even expertise of a scientist. For example, my lab, RNA research laboratory, RNA biology. We study how mRNA stability change in chronic conditions. And in order to understand this mechanism and how we can apply the knowledge to the patients, and how we can use drug screening purposes normalize some of the RNA operations that we see in disease. I think now we can go back to our team, and you have also presentation. Okay, you want to come now and then all we discuss it here. Now we can have comments from the panel, and then we can receive questions and answers.
Thank you very much for this outstanding presentation. I agree with you. The infrastructure of research need to be solidified and should focus on something has a clear impact on the national level. For example, one of the infrastructures you mentioned is genomic, making a solid genomic system will impact the infrastructure of the research and the outcome after a decade. And this also will lead to high impact on the economy and health of the individuals.
Thank you very much for the nice presentation. Actually, this takes me to few questions. So we have a very good examples of research being established well in the kingdom. But in terms of replication, the success of others, do we really need to do this? You know, I mean, for the establishment of new research platform, example like the one we have now in Princeton University, because we have many good examples around, do we need to duplicate or in a way to collaborate just like to, we don't want to waste resources. This is just take me, do we really need in the kingdom duplication of success or collaboration just to make things, just enhancement of more, in terms of the core genome, you said we have very good examples around in the kingdom, just very facilitated units for core genome. Now, if you want to do this, like in Princess Noor University, in terms of the establishment, and so, how do you see this? Do we need to duplicate or even do more of this, or just collaborate in the basis? I just want to have it like an open discussion.
You mean duplication in terms of the infrastructure?
Infrastructure, yeah.
Okay, well, I think for starters, there will be always starters. It's good to have starters, okay? I think they should utilize what is existing in other institutes while they are building their own. But remember, for a larger infrastructure where it is costly and technically demanding, it's much better if there is a national infrastructure. But the most important thing, all of that is wonderful in terms of theory, but how we can make it? How we can make a national infrastructure? Can we come to Keymark and maybe we found that one of their services is excellent and robust, and maybe we designate that as a national research infrastructure? You know, I'm sure there are certain areas they are excelling in. Go to King Faisal and see what are these areas that are already in a full platform, and you know, working at international levels, and then take one or two or three and also designate it as a national infrastructure. Go to King Saud, maybe they have, as I understand, for example, there's excellent animal toxicology model, a toxicology lab. Still, I don't have to do animal toxicology lab. Why didn't I just go there, and it's easier and it's cheaper. So I think if somebody thought, maybe Dr. Al-Askari, you can help us with this, if we're having a working group from different institutes and trying to find out what are the labs or the services that can be designated as a national infrastructure where every institute can come to this infrastructure and ask them to do the service. And we can ask the government to beef it up and fund it. And I give, we have been given some examples. So.
I think this is an excellent idea, and I would definitely encourage this. You know, teaming up actually in research groups, maybe based on specialties, based on others. This is something we already thought about it, and I'm happy that this is being discussed now, which basically endorse it, and we could endorse it in the recommendation at the end of the meeting. To form groups based on specialties and let these groups basically discuss where, for example, a project could be done in Princess Noor, another project could be done in King Faisal, a third project could be done at King Abdullah International Medical Center in Keymark, or other centers. I think this is the way forward. Now, working basically in a silo, this will definitely not help. And it's time basically to team up and to work in such groups. And I don't know if that's what you're discussing, or is it, am I talking about something different?
First, thank you, Dr. Khabar, for this nice presentation. I believe that we have many scattered small infrastructures all around the kingdom, but still we need to see what are the priorities, what the kingdom is looking for in order to make a bigger infrastructure, because till now we don't have a big infrastructure for clinical medicine. In addition, we have to know where are we standing in qualified research publication. Parallel, when we look at these 2 points in parallel, we can highlight which areas we can focus to have a big infrastructure in case, in terms of collaboration between many centers or many universities or many research centers. This is from my point of view, but again, I really thank you, Doctor. I know you have many focused infrastructures at King Faisal Specialty Research Center. At the same time, we have at King Saud University many centers, specialized centers, as well as many other universities. Thank you.
Yeah, for example, you know, in the research lab that I direct, I don't grow viruses in my lab, and sometimes I need experimental viruses, like it's a mouse viruses, influenza viruses, everything. My source is the King Saud University. There's an excellent lab there. That lab can be really a resource because they have the expertise. They grow viruses like crazy. They grow viruses, for example, in eggs for influenza. These are expertise, so they can be designated as the resource for here and for the other institute and for the other one. It's just much easier than if you want to do everything. You may have a scientist that he wants to work with a virus, but he cannot grow the viruses in his lab, or he doesn't have expertise, or the reagents, or the cells. So in King Saud, maybe we can, for example, this is a national infrastructure that can be utilized, and then I still think there should be a group that is mandated by the government, maybe by CACs, to find out first what are these core facilities that can be used as a national infrastructures centers, and then designate them and beef them up, and then work out on the logistics. Is it open access? Is it service by fee? Or is it collaborative? Or possibly all the models. They will be happy with it because they will find some funding for the services with. I will be happy, you will be happy because some of your research reagents or materials has been executed, or the services at in a better pace manner.
Thank you very much. Actually, I agree with you totally regarding the efficient utilization of the labs for infrastructures. And this is also helpful in efficient utilization of the fund and producing high impact research. However, still I think we need to recommend through this conference that we need to have a governmental umbrella for research. Still, I mean, CACs now they are converting to doing the things rather than becoming funders for researcher and research institution. So I think we need really urgently to have an umbrella for all researchers in the country and all institutions in order to work in efficient way and centralization of different capacities and empower our internal and external capacities.
Now we'll have a few questions from the audience for the session members for comments.
Thank you for the presentation. First, it was a great presentation. I liked it. The question I have is, we have major issue in identifying the infrastructure and the status quo of other research centers or other maybe institution. Now, what is the best way to tackle this issue and identify the major deficiencies in these research institute or maybe in health institutions in order to promote and in order to optimize clinical research or research in general?
Dr. Ali, if I can summarize it, I know there's the microphone giving an echo here. Yeah. So, so what I understand, how we find the deficiencies in the research infrastructure and research practices, and from there we can try to solve it with the national infrastructures. Am I right? Well, yeah.
I think this would reflect back to the impact of the research or the environment of the research within the colleges and the universities in general. So if we want to take Princess Noura in as an example, I would say we're still starter, we're still beginners in there. And we have like a College of Sciences that already will establish in research, and they do like lots of collaboration. So collaboration was the key for enhancing scientific research within the College of Sciences. Moving to College of Health, we're still a bit behind. Things is not really well established in there, and I think this would go back to the lots of faculty. They are overwhelmed with teaching, and they don't have that much of support, and this is what I would say. This will start as for a faculty member who is interested in research. We really need to find a way that we support them. And to do this, we need lots of initiative and I would say postdoctoral programs for whoever come on overseas. They're very initiative. They need to do something. They're passionate, but they don't find the support. And I think this is one of the weaknesses or things we really need to work on, supporting the young scientists. They need a mentor, they need a guideline, they need the main aim is not just publication. So the aim is to support them, to transfer the good knowledge, and even for the younger generation, so the graduates, students, we really need to focus on them, so they could be the power for the next generation, for them to build them as a next generation scientist. Yeah, I think, do you want to add anything, Dr.?
If you give me a chance to present my presentation, it could help in answering a few points. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Shall I bring it down?
You can moderate.
لا, it's not mine. This is Dr. Khalid.
أقول أنت you can moderate the second half. المفروض أنا وياك.
You'll hire me. Okay. I'll just highlight what I mentioned earlier regarding to know where we are standing in research in order to have an infrastructure and join the scattered centers or small research infrastructures all around. This statistics was done up to date till yesterday, covering 2017, January 1st till 25th of November. We are comparing here the quantity and quality of clinical medicine between Arab countries, world average, and Netherlands as a benchmark, which is the best in qualified clinical medicine publication over the world. So in Arab countries, within these 2 years, they published a high number of 9,658 articles in comparison to 448,000 plus a world average. If we subtract from Arab countries the kingdom, we publish 2,892 in clinical medicine. In comparison to Netherlands, they only publish 16,475. If we compare this with the quartiles, Q1, Q2, Q3, 4, we lie in the kingdom. 21% of our total articles lie in Q1, 27% in Q2, and similar on Q3, and 25 in Q4. If we compare it to the others, it looks similar, but actually, you compare the percentage to the total articles, not between the countries. So 21 out of 2,800 is not similar to 51 out of 16,475. Almost half of this lie in Q1. Only for us, 21% lie from this number. So it's better estimate to tell us where are we lying. We lay on the top 10% is only 10% for us and 6%. This graph shows us the green line is where Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in clinical medicine. They are among, if we compare it with the Arab countries, the world average and Netherlands, they are the best in the lowest 10 centile in Q4 publication. We are the best, but we are the worst in Q1 in publication of clinical research. So if we want to have an infrastructure for clinical medicine, we have to put in mind this kind of publications in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Second, this is similar with the graphs. We see we are almost similar to the Arab countries on the top, which we are the lowest. Still, Saudi Arabia is the lowest. And we are here in the top. We are here also almost similar to the Arab, but still we are, maybe this graph is not clear. But now, answering the point, what is the best model strategy to achieve research excellence in the country? Is it by creating standalone institutions or through creating shared enabling platforms? So if we look here in the kingdom, we see that among the 282, which is the top Q1 we have, most of the publication, they are done only in let's say here, 87% in King Saud University, 56% in King Abdulaziz University, and 29% in King Faisal Special Hospital and Research Center. Which with only 2 universities and 1 center, they carry the whole publication, most of the publication in Q1, the top 10%. While if we look in Netherlands, which is our benchmark, which is the best in clinical publication, either in the world or on the top 10 percentile in the Q1, we see it's all divided equally among the universities, the publications. The percentage of publication almost equal in all universities of Netherlands, which is not similar to us. So either to have a good publication with well-established university or well-established centers to have good clinical medicine publication. If we go back to kingdom, what are the best mechanisms to sustain national research infrastructures? if we look for our collaboration in Saudi Arabia with these countries, we have the best upper 10 percentile. We worked with USA, England, Canada, that's an international collaboration. While the least 10 percentile, these are the countries where we collaborate with. The 168, the lowest 10 percentile, and 282 is the highest quartile, 10 percentile. So let's say USA, 172 articles published from the kingdom within these 2 years. Still here, USA, we have 10 low quality publications done, which is around 5% in comparison to 61%. So another point, international collaboration is very important for the infrastructure. Especially we don't have so far an established infrastructure nationally. Third point, what strategies to adopt for capacity building in order to strengthen national research infrastructure. Now, if we look at these publications in Saudi Arabia, only 16 papers out of the 282 were done by local national candidates, totally from A to Z. There is no collaboration with any international collaboration, only 16 papers published. With, on the other hand, on Netherlands, 1,088 papers, which accounts 26% of their total publication, were done by national citizens without collaboration. So if we look back here and distributed among the universities in the kingdom, King Saud, only 4 articles came out as a fully national article published. King Al Faisal University 3, King Abdulaziz 3, so it's almost similar, which is very low. So we need international collaboration and support to support our infrastructure. What is the current situation for the infrastructure? As I mentioned, only 2,892, out of it 10%, the upper 10 percentile, 282, and 186 for the bottom percentile. Now, what is our recommendation to the best national research infrastructure? We recommend from King Saud, medical research require massive government investment. We have to adopt programs to share existing facilities between researchers, and we have to adopt international collaboration that can facilitate real collaboration and build our infrastructure. Thank you for listening, and I hope I did add something on this presentation. Thank you. Any question?
Thank you, Dr. Abir, for this outstanding presentation. Dr. Khabar, any comment?
Yes, I still, I am being a scientist. I like to assess things on a qualitative basis rather than quantitative basis. I look at publications and the outcome, which one that advance the field, which one that actually put an edge towards the specific field of which paper is talk about. So we really should, in my opinion, we emphasize on the quality of the research. It may be very difficult for us these days to go for the 10 percentile of the journals, but I would accept a research material that is in Q1, for example, even Q2, but it has excellent citations, that has an impact on the field of itself. And the only people who can say this has an impact in the field is the specialists of the same subject. For example, if you publish something in hepatology, Okay, I will not be able to assess it. It will be the hepatologist who can assess, and they said, oh, this is a great publication, and this is a great impact. I think it's important for the national infrastructure. I do think national infrastructure would enhance these numbers if they have been capitalized in a good format, basically.
I agree.
It's a comment, it's not a question.
I know, just I want to comment on your comment. I agree, our source of reference is the Web of Knowledge, which is the worldwide, how they find where you are standing in many specialties. It doesn't matter what specialty. I have another slide, but I didn't put it. I just focused on clinical medicine as a whole, but I have another slide which distribute the specialties. But I believe you by yourself is one of the one counted in from King Faisal Specialist Hospital who published, because we admire your work, Dr. Abu Khabar. This is, I hope it's not taken as we are here in this place to know where we are standing in order to know on which direction we have to move on to build our national infrastructure. And I hope this doesn't bring us or feel down, or it's the reality. Whether we like it or we don't like it, then how can we move forward, move on to you know, bypass this? So this is the point. Thank you so much for your comments anyway.
Dr. Ali.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for the nice presentation. I think in terms of the publication and impact of the publication for as a national and international level, I'm just like, I was focusing on the numbers. It's not just anything. It's just these numbers sometimes in terms of encouraging scientists, it would sometimes disappoint a lot of scientists, because as a university level, in order to monitor the publication level, so the number, this is what is aiming, but it's actually, sometimes it disappoints the scientists, it's disencourage them, because in order to get a higher number, we need the basic should be established well. So the number for us, I mean, as an establishment, an institute, the number, okay, it would encourage us to do a lot of work and stuff, but at the same time, how can we reach to this number? So this is the key. How can we get there? Sorry? No, I mean not in terms to obtain the number. How can, you know, like King Saud is our example now, and as a Princess Noor University, for the scientists, they really want to encourage them and just enhance them, and to get to the, you know, establish this high impact research. We want them to have the basic at the beginning. So we want to encourage the scientists in a way to get more publication, more collaboration, and this is what we are basically somehow struggling to do. And I would get like your advice. What was the examples for encouraging scientists in King?
I just highlighted in the slides that when we collaborate with international collaboration, we find a better publication. But still, we collaborated with certain areas or countries. We did have a low percentile, so we have to choose whom to collaborate with. Internal researchers, we have good researchers, qualified. We have good facilities, but there is no collaboration between these centers. There is no. Sometimes we don't know about each other, what other center is doing. So we need highly to collaborate with each other. Plus we need governmental funding and supervision and following in order to establish these infrastructures. So my last slide just highlighted from our experience what we need, because still a lot of centers are struggling in terms of funding, research fund, in terms of manpower. They don't have lab technicians, or in terms of kits who are, which is coming from abroad. A person who's living in the States or Canada or Europe, he just he buzzed the button, and then the next day he received the kit. For us, we need 3 to 6 months to receive the kit, so this will interfere with the production of the research. So I think many points has to be raised to have on the table and put on the table to find a solution for this, which are obstacles in front of the researcher. But still, when we collaborate together, I think we can make it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have few comments regarding the presentation. I think it's better to show the citations rather than the highest impact factor journals, because the citation will reflect more the impact of the article on the scientific community. And the second thing, you show in the slide that the local output is low compared when we collaborate with the international, and this is actually something observed over the world, that when we have multi-center collaboration, the impact of research will be higher, and the scientific output and publishing will be in the higher impact factor journal. The third thing I think we need also to look from this presentation regarding the editorial board members. So, for example, if you make a scan for the journals over the world, the high impact factor journals, you will see several of in each high impact factor journal, you will see 1 or 2 editorial board member from Netherlands. So this will help them to advertise themselves to the world. And I think we should also work on this strategy, how we could engage our research scientists in the editorial board members of high impact factor journals, because this will also facilitate publishing of our articles. I have example from my work actually. We did an article that rejected by 6 journals, and finally we published it in the lower impact factor. And then when we attend an international conference, the first slide was our article, while another article done by Netherlands group of the same quality, and it was published in a New England Journal of Medicine. And actually I was in both articles a co-author. So we need really to look at these issues, and also the things, also we need to look at it here, that for example, King Saud University has a lot of colleges and a lot of PhDs and master program, which is also a real good resources for producing basic science articles with high impact factor, like Netherlands. Netherlands, even you could do a PhD while you are in Saudi Arabia combining with a Netherlands university. So I think this strategy is really important for the other center in the countries to adapt more PhDs and more master basic science programs, because these are the unit and I think the nucleus for producing high impact factor research.
I think we side off track from our main main focus, which is the leveraging national research infrastructures, because we would like to focus on how we can really leverage national structure, how we can designate national research structure, how we can find it, how we can make it as a workable model. So if you don't mind, if we just focus on the topic of the session, because I understand there's another topic of the session is about research impact. So we don't want to really, it's important that we focus on the subject. Otherwise, there's a lot of things to say about the research impact.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Abu Khater, for coming back to the main track of the session, which is the building the infrastructure. We have to keep in mind that publications is not the only outcome. It's not the only measure. It's not the only KPI for the infrastructure of clinical research. Maybe I'm passionate about clinical trials, but I think if we consider, if you are participating in a multi-center clinical trials, your name will not be there in the publication because it goes to the inventor. However, there is another outcome that is measurable of number of clinical trials. For instance, this is a measurable. Talking about basic science research with high impact, again, it's the same thing. Basic science research is important as other type of research. Again, there are other measures and other KPIs to measure the outcome of basic science research. So publication by itself is not the only parameter, and I know it is important. And again, we have to consider the citation of these publications and articles, because without referring to the citations and the impact factor of journals, quality doesn't mean much. So,
do you mind if I go over the questions?
If I may, this is mostly it's a comment. It's not a question, but how can we measure the improvement or maybe the growth of our infrastructure in clinical trials or in clinical studies in general, whether it is basic science or clinical research?
So Abdelali has actually supplied me with several questions. So I think I'm going to go back to them because at the beginning I said we will see how it is going, but I think it's important to go over it because it's more focused on this. So I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, Majid, I'm going to ask each one of you about these questions. So what is the current situation of existing national research infrastructures, in your opinion?
This is a great question, actually.
Is it poor, is it modest, or it's excellent?
Well, I will not say poor or modest or excellent, but what I would say that maybe King Faisal Research Center were the oldest and first one who entered in this era. All other center came currently newly existing center. However, there is a lot of fragmented fund and fragmented equipment that not efficiently utilized in the country, and also most of the scientists are suffering from of a lot of challenges in their small current institutions. Again, we are lacking the umbrella for all researchers. This is making the current existing model is challenging, and the funding utilization still not efficiently distributed. I would say still we would like to have more collaboration models and more efficient model in different aspects of medicine. Still, there is lack of connections between clinicians and scientists in many of the institutions. Some of the institutions start to work on this direction and start to see a fruitful output. However, still is not completely the image now. So in summary, I think it's still fragmented and need more to work on it.
Okay. No, I'll give you another question. Otherwise, we will not finish on time. So, in your opinion, what are the strategies to adapt for capacity building, or how we can actually strengthen a designated national research infrastructure? Once we designate a national research infrastructure, how do we try to strengthen it?
I would agree with all suggestions being said, and in terms of strengthening, I would say we should hire the right people in the right place. This is a really key. We should get the most benefit of the people we have, and then direct them in the right decision, the right directions. I mean. So we should focus on the scientists we have, and then empower them, and get maybe help from others and collaborate. So in terms of collaboration, I think this is the key for all the success we need in terms of as a national and international collaboration. But in terms of collaboration, we should formulate it in a way that have the higher impact, not just collaboration as an individual level, because this is what the scientists keep doing, and they struggle in terms of collaboration. But if they have a bigger umbrella of collaboration, sustainable collaboration, and active collaboration, it's not just collaboration, this is not just on a paper, this should be an active collaboration. Scientists should be like, we should like exchange scientists, exchange knowledge, get together more often, as a national, national level. We have lots of amazing scientists, but we don't know each other. This is the key. We should have like a networking. We again focus on like group research, and this should have the impact, and even soon we can see the result out of it.
Okay, so in a brief, group research would strengthen the infrastructure, the national infrastructure in research. Dr. Abir, what do you think the best model to achieve a national infrastructure? Is it open access, collaborative, service per fee, any other enabling factors and disabling factors?
Actually, I don't have any comparative infrastructures between open access or fees or whatever. What I believe, when I want to have an infrastructure for clinical medicine, if I don't have the strong capabilities nationally to handle this infrastructure from A to Z, with different specialities, I would say, then I have to certainly go for collaboration, whether it's open access, whether it's paid, and paid. It depends actually on the available fund can be funded by the government. So if it's paid or just open access, but still personally I go with partially paid.
With what?
Partially paid myself on person. Putting some parts as an open access. It's partially, not totally paid, because it gives us a model from other universities where research is supported by the government and the local companies, which is how other universities, they focus and work on research. So it's not only government who pay, it's not only the companies, both of them, they support. And we have the research chairs in King Saud University. It's a good example for the chairs who are lasting, who are still working. Other chairs, they just stopped because the funding is from one source. It's very good to have a dual fund or multiple fund to run the research itself. Thank you.
So we have any brief 2 questions or 2 comments? Assalam.
Same communities, I have not seen any connection. We do talk, we have, everything, discussions model, but the community is not there, which is a contrast difference. When I was in the USA, the universities were the role model for their respective communities. If you can comment on that, Dr. Abir, please, thank you.
So it's actually the question for you, but please make your answer shorter than his question.
I disagree with you. There is nothing about the community because all our studies are, our sample size is from the community. And we never have a sample size from abroad unless there is even with collaboration, we take samples from there and samples from here. So the community is there, but we need to pay a higher effort on enlarging the sample size and making trials and making registries in order to cover all parts of community along the kingdom, north, south, east, and west, and central. So I think this needs a big effort, although there is still many scattered registry efforts done in the field of clinical medicine, but still we need more in order to know what's going on and how can we solve these problems. Putting in mind now the latest in treatment of these medical issues that you raised, like hypertension, obesity, whatever, still the research outcome is still the main. Let me put it this way: the main research outcome is coming from a Western side from abroad, not internally, but still our local studies are done on community. Thank you. I hope I did answer your question.
Can I ask a question before you conclude, please? Dr. Khalid, can you please summarize the points by which we can leverage the infrastructure of research in Saudi Arabia?
Again, without the microphone, maybe it's better. Okay. So,
because the last presentation gave,
so to summarize how we leverage national infrastructure. Yeah. Look, I've been burdened by the fact I will chair the session. I'm giving 30 minutes to bring presentation, and at the end you also want me to summarize all this session.
Yes, I want to examine you actually.
Then I have another idea. Since you are in the audience, you might want to summarize, in your opinion, what you have gathered from this session and from the comments by the audience. Just in a minute or 2 minutes.
Well, actually, I avoid to summarize because I heard contradictory messages.
I make sure that we have been useful. So the best way is for you is if you summarize all, what are the points do you think it is, it's worthwhile, at least, following it up? Just in half a minute or 1 minute.
Well, the best points to follow up is, quick delivery of material to the labs. It's one way of improving the infrastructure of basic research in Saudi Arabia and worldwide. The second thing is to collaborate nationally if we were to conduct research from A to Z and to be proud of it. But, running to the international arena and make international collaboration and claim that, we have improved our infrastructure I don't think it's a wise way of doing it. I think we should face our problems, improve our structure, improve our national collaboration before we move to international collaboration. So I think the best thing is to face the local obstacles we have and to go about solving and to go about finding solutions to these obstacles. The third point is it has to do with the equipment itself. I mean, you asked Dr. Majid a difficult question about how do you rate the infrastructure in Saudi Arabia, and I did not get a clear answer from him. But from my experience and looking around what is available in the kingdom, I think in certain areas of research we have excellent infrastructure. In other areas we have modest infrastructures. In the third type of areas we have poor infrastructure. It is not, again, I should emphasize that it is not the availability of the instrument or not is what counts. What counts is that if you buy something, you utilize it effectively, you administer it effectively. I mean, part of the infrastructure is to have good administration for research. If you look around, you find in some departments there are excellent infrastructure, but you have very poor administration and utilization of this equipment. Another point that has to do with infrastructure, another direct point, is the maintenance of this infrastructure. We have very poor maintenance facilities all over the kingdom. And I think this point should be considered very seriously. Otherwise, we keep talking about infrastructure and not really doing much about it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for everybody for the attendance and interesting discussion from outstanding panels here, Dr. Abir Al-Masri and Dr. Ali Radwan and Dr. Khalid Abu Khabar. And now the time for lunch. See you after lunch.
طبعا. هلا والله خلصنا. ان شاء الله.
وقفنا لانه ما كان في ما اخذنا ابروفل من الاي فتوقفنا.